Now the floor goes back to Commission Vice President Dubravka ŠUICA.
Chair, dear members of European Parliament, I want to thank you for this interesting debate, and I want to thank especially the rapporteurs for their constructive position during negotiations. When facing the climate crisis, every day of inaction costs us more than we can afford in economic and human terms. Action cannot be delayed, and the implementation of our commitments must start as soon as possible. Our energy sovereignty cannot be found in more fossil fuels. Fit for 55 does fight for energy crisis. The agreements and the broad support voiced in the debate show once again that the European Union's determination to become climate neutral by 2050, transform our economy and society, leave no one behind, and ensure our energy security. In the face of strong headwinds mentioned in some contributions, we continue delivering on European Green Deal for a sustainable future. As you may remember, the Council wanted to keep the size to 59 billion euros only. With the agreement found between co-legislators, the fund will mobilize 86.7 billion euros. This was made possible thanks to the extension of the new emissions trading system to additional sectors, bringing additional revenues, as you know, and the agreement on national contributions of 25% of the total estimated costs. You will be voting tomorrow the possibility of 87 billion euros at the service of inclusion and fair transition. Moreover, member states will also use their national auction revenues from the new system for climate-related purposes, including to address social impacts. The Social Climate Fund would also be a redistribution mechanism financed by the polluter pays principle. 20% of the richest households are responsible for 32% of building and transport emissions, while the 20% of the poorest are only responsible for 9% of these emissions. The next step is swift implementation. We will benefit from as broad as possible a support by co-legislators and a speedy further adoption process. Your vote tomorrow will be a major step forward in the fight against climate change, as these files, together with the rest of the Fit for 55 files, will mark the future of the welfare of our environment, our economy, and our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice President. Der nächste Redner ist der Herr Kollege Peter Liese.
Dear colleagues, there was quite some criticism on the package and on my report. There was criticism from the far right, and I think their basic argument was climate change is not so serious, and I can't follow that argument. It is serious, we are suffering from it, and we need to act. There was criticism from part of the left and part of the Greens, and their main idea is we should have even higher targets, but nobody should realize. We seem to have a miracle system that nobody really has to change something. That is not possible. We all have to contribute. I am very grateful that some colleagues from the left and the majority of the Greens, as well as all the center groups, are in favor of the ETS and in favor of the compromise. And I think we will have a good majority tomorrow. Thank you for everybody again that helped to build this compromise. Finally, I want to refer to Esther de Lange, because she's really right. The work is not done tomorrow. The work of implementation starts tomorrow. We need to build up renewable energies and all the other technologies that we need for the transition faster. We need to give permissions faster. The Net Zero Industrial Act is a good basis, but we could even improve it. And we need to follow the money. Member states have the obligation I repeat, the obligation to spend the money on purpose. We fighted for this in ETS1 for 20 years, and now we have it. It's a shall and not a should. And member states have the obligation to spend all the money from ETS2, also the national revenues, which are almost twice as much as the 86 billion from the Social Climate Fund, according to social criteria. So let's remind member states every day on this obligation so that the transition is really just. Thank you very much.
Comes next, wait. Yes, and next speaker is Mr. CHAHIM Mohammed.
Dank u wel, voorzitter. Ik denk dat ik toch even 2 punten heel kort hier wil bespreken. De eerste, het lijkt er een grote meerderheid te zijn voor alle 3 de pakketten. Maar het verbaast me wel. Een aantal lieden hier laten zich heel kritisch uit. Ze komen hier staan, ze vertellen vooral waar ze tegen zijn. En ik moet toch eerlijk zeggen dat het me ook wel verrast. Omdat aan de ene kant, als je ergens tegen bent, dan doe je er alles aan om het te veranderen. En niet alleen op het moment zo pruim roepen dat je tegen bent en je loopt weg. En dan vervolgens ga je ook alleen maar Europa en Brussel de schuld geven. Europa en Brussel, dat zijn wij. Europa is geen onzichtbare hand die beslissingen neemt die de lidstaten overkomt. Wij, democratisch gekozen parlementariërs, hebben in een zeer zorgvuldig proces met de lidstaten gekomen tot dit resultaat. Zeer democratisch, zeer transparant. Europa is als in de ochtend opstaan en in de spiegel kijken. En dan zijn er dagen dat het bevalt en dagen dat het niet bevalt. Maar je bent het toch echt zelf. Dat wilde ik toch even kwijt. Voorzitter, ja, er zijn gewoon een aantal lieden die kampioen kont tegen de krip gooien zijn. Ik weet niet of dit goed vertaald wordt door de vertalers, maar ik denk dat de meeste mensen in Nederland wel zullen begrijpen wat ik bedoel. Wat hebben we nu gedaan? We hebben heel zorgvuldig, ze hebben kaders gesteld waaronder bedrijven kunnen excelleren. Je hebt bedrijven die er goed in zijn en bedrijven die er minder goed in zijn. Maar dat is de markt, zo gaat dat. Maar ik geloof heel erg dat met deze voorwaarden die we vandaag hebben gesteld, we echt kunnen werken aan een groene, competitieve EU-industrie. En daarom moeten we voor deze wetgeving stemmen. En hier tegen stemmen en dan hopen dat het een keer goed gaat komen met de energiemarkt, met de energieprijzen. Ja, ik geloof ook in sprookjes, maar veel liever werk ik eraan om ervoor te zorgen dat de situatie voor huishoudens en voor het bedrijfsleven verbeterd wordt. Want alleen maar afhankelijk zijn van fossiel zal ertoe leiden dat de prijzen alleen maar zullen stijgen. En we rollen dan van crisis naar crisis naar crisis. Een ander belangrijk element waar we hopelijk morgen voor zullen stemmen, is dat gelijk speelveld aan de grens. We hebben al 15 jaar emissiehandel in Europa. En toch blijven we oneerlijke concurrentie van buiten Europa toestaan. Nou, daar stoppen we mee. Alleen dat al zou voldoende reden moeten zijn om hier voor de mensen in de zaal voor dit pakket te stemmen. Dat zal ik doen en ik roep u op dat morgen ook te doen. En hopelijk kunnen wij heel snel met elkaar aan de slag aan de vergroening van onze industrie. Dank u wel.
Thank you, Mr. CHAHIM. And the next speaker is Mr. David CASA.
Grazie, Sur President. U ċar li din il-Kamra tifhem l-importanza ta' dan il-ftehim huwa pożittiv il-messaġġ li qiegħed jasal u r-riskju ma' ferm akbar jekk ma nagħmlu xejn. Naturalment hemm min ma femx il-mod ta' kif ħdimna għaliex le dan il-ftehim ma jippartjenix lil naħa waħda ta' din il-Kamra imma jappartjeni għall-Parlament kollu. Il-kol kemm aħna ħdimna flimkien biex nassiguraw li jkollna l-aħjar ftehim illi jiddefendi lill-klima tagħna, illi jiddefendi lill-familji, illi jiddefendi lill-ħaddiema, lill-anzjani, lill-pensjonanti u ta' dan aħna kburin. Il-gruppi politiċi kollha f'din il-Kamra ħadmu biex naslu għal dan il-ftehim ħafna drabi għal sija attwali jekk ma nsemmix ukoll l-aħħar weekend li kellna qabel il-miliet fejn il-koll kemm aħna għamilna sagrifiċċji u rajna x'inhuma dawk l-aspetti li fuqhom nistgħu naqblu. U jiena kburi allura illi għandna dan il-ftehim qudiemna u nassigurakom illi ma kienx faċli. Kburi għaliex il-Fond Soċjali għall-Klima huwa l-aktar miżura soċjali sinifikanti f'din it-tranzizzjoni klimatika. U allura nħeġġeġ għada lill-kollegi kollha biex jappoġġjaw dan il-ftehim, il-vot tagħna huwa kruċjali, qegħdin nikdbu l-istorja, kunu parti minn din l-istorja, kunu parti minn dan il-ftehim, għax dan il-ftehim irridu nagħmluh mhux biss ta' daw tagħna dak li ħdimna fih imma rridu nagħmluh ħada tal-Parlament Ewropew kollu. Grazzi ħafna.
Thank you, Mr. CASA. And the next speaker is Ms. Esther de Lange. The floor is yours.
Ja, dank u wel, voorzitter. En sinds Mohammed CHAHIM was zo creatief met Nederlandse spreekwoorden, laat mij er dan ook eentje ingooien, die ik aan mijn moeder dank. Die zei altijd, kan ik niet ligt op het kerkhof en wil ik niet ligt ernaast. En ik denk, and I think that is really what those who were saying we can't do it this way meant. We don't want to. And we will see that reflected in the votes from the extremes, I think, tomorrow. But most colleagues underlined, to be honest, their favorite part of this package in the debate, but had a constructive attitude. And for that, I thank them. And I mentioned in the beginning that this package, ETS, CBAM, and the Social Climate Fund is in a way the core triangle of Fit for 55. And since I have a new commissioner here that allows me, and I believe she's from Dubravka, so she knows a thing or two about navigation. And I said that this is the core part of the Fit for 55 package because it allows us to have a compass. We know where we're going when it comes to CO2 reduction. We know what our task is. We know the point on the horizon for 2050 with this legislation. But it also allows us, hopefully, to navigate the high seas. Having a compass only is not enough. You need to know exactly where you are on the high seas. And the high seas globally are sometimes very windy, and the CBAM needs to protect us. CBAM might not be enough. We might need to build on CBAM, but at least we take a first step. And thirdly, a good navigator, a good sailor knows that you have to avoid mutiny on your own ship. And yes, indeed, that means taking all you people along. But then we have to be factual. The Commission has shown that the Social Climate Fund, even though it's relatively small, when used in the right way by member states, will actually compensate the lowest income groups fully for the introduction of ETS2. And we built in several safeguards to make sure that ETS doesn't come when the energy prices remain high. We need to be factual. Do I then downplay the concerns that I have heard in this room? No, I don't. I hear them, I understand them, and the EPP hears and understands them. And that means that we need to work on energy prices, speeding up our independence from other providers. We need to make sure that the Green Deal provides jobs in Europe. These electrical buses are going to be built here and not in China. And finally, on the social, let's be very, very honest. When we did the reform of ETS, Peter, Liese and others in this room last time, the price per ton was €5. It is now 100, and most of that stays in member states. That bloody well puts an obligation on member states to use that money well for the climate, but also socially. Thank you very much.
And then the last speaker is our colleague Sunčana GLAVAK.
Hvala lijepa predsjedavajući, poštovana povjerenice, kolegice i kolege. Da, treba emocija i mislim da su Esther, Peter, David pokazali da treba emocije, ali u političkom smislu treba znati kada preuzeti odgovornost. Mislim da je EPP preuzeo odgovornost najmanje 4 puta ako gledamo kroz naše oči u ovoj dvorani. No, željela bih se referirati na nešto što je vezano uz moj izvještaj bilo, a kolega Mato je još uvijek ovdje, pa ću njemu odgovoriti zabrinutost zbog najudaljenijih regija. Svjesni smo činjenice, imali smo snažniju formulaciju oko opsega odstupanja u pogledu najudaljenijih regija. Međutim, ono što trebamo istaknuti kako u pogledu SAF emisijskih jedinica najudaljenije regije imaju povlaštenu poziciju, te će se u tom kontekstu 100% razlike u cijeni pokrivati. Ovdje je povjerenica, međutim, vijeće nije baš bilo senzibilizirano za ovakav naš prijedlog, ali ovo je ono što smo uspjeli i molim vas da to prenesete ovu zabrinutost, odnosno odgovor vašim kolegama. Kolegice i kolege, želim istaknuti još jednom da ono što smo obećali u svom predizbornom programu kao EPP grupa, to je da isporučujemo rezultate naših obećanja oko klimatskih ciljeva. Nisam čula ništa konkretno osim populističke kritike od drugih klubova koji su jednostavno rekli ovo nije dobro, ali nisu ponudili nikakvo rješenje. Ovaj proces ne traje od jučer i smatram da je ovo čisto uzurpiranje minutaže ili da se ukažemo na nekakvom televizijskom headlineu kako smo bili zbog nečeg protiv. Mislim da to nije konstruktivno i ne volim takav populizam. Za kraj želim reći da smo u cijelom procesu uzeli u obzir objektivne dimenzije procesa u ovim izazovnim vremenima. Imamo promjenu koncepta suvremene sigurnosti i ovo je važna dionica koju moramo stalno graditi. Ako možemo ploviti morima, ako možemo letjeti avionima, onda moramo znati kako graditi, a ja sam uvijek za građenje, a ne za rušenje. Prema tome, gradimo sutra kada ćemo glasovati. Hvala vam puno svima.
Thank you very much, Ms. Glavak, and the joint debate is now closed. The vote will be held tomorrow.